Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3679BN. Today's date is July 3rd, 2025, and the title of the episode is Obama Framed Trump, Then Overthrew the United States Government, Treason, Destruction of the D Party. Let's talk about our health. The science is in. A clinical trial found that just 10 grams of collagen a day for 8 weeks led to a roughly 20% increase in skin hydration and a 17% improvement in elasticity, while also visibly reducing wrinkle depth. If you want to help improve your skin health, it's clear that collagen is essential. This is why I use the Secret Magical Powder, and I'm obsessed with the results. Multi-collagen provides my skin with 5 types of premium collagen to help attack wrinkles from every angle. I'm seeing smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer lines, and more youthful glow. Plus, multi-collagen mixes smoothly with my morning coffee or tea. There's no clumping and zero added flavor. Do yourself a big favor and grab yourself a bag of ageless multi-collagen now for 51% off only at healthwithx22.com. Plus, by ordering today, you'll also receive free VIP life health and fitness coaching for life and a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free shipping with your order. Once again, this offer is only available at healthwithx22.com. That's healthwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, they are now panicking. Think about it. The big, beautiful bill just passed, and Trump has everything in that bill to deport all the illegals. He has everything in that bill to remove them off of Medicaid. He has everything in that bill to start the process to transition us off the Federal Reserve. He has everything in that bill to build the wall so no illegals come into this country. He has everything in that bill that he needs as of right now to destroy the deep state players. And I do believe we're starting to see that now Trump and team, they're bringing out the evidence to warm the people up. They get the people to understand what has happened since 2016. And you could see that, yes, information came out about Russia collusion. Information came out about Kennedy, RFK. More information is going to be coming out. And what people are starting to realize is that Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Brennan, and many, many others, they were all involved in framing Trump. And Obama was the mastermind in that. And as we move forward throughout 2016 to 2020, they continually went after Trump to try to remove him from office. Basically, it's a coup. That's what we call it. And then finally, in 2020, they released the virus on this country and the rest of the world. And they used it to cheat in the election. They already have their cheating systems in place. But what they needed to do, they needed to take it to the next level because they realized, wow, Trump has a lot of people behind him. The cheating system, the way it is today, will not work. We're going to have to take this to the next level. And yes, there were other agendas in that. They thought, oh, this is the perfect time for the Great Reset. This is the perfect time for depopulating the world. This is the perfect time to keep the entire world sick. So this way we can move them into the 15-minute cities. But again, their main objective was to get rid of Trump, because if they didn't get rid of Trump, all of that would have failed. So they had to create something where people wouldn't go to the polls, where they would actually mail in their ballots. Now, again, this was their system before. They just expanded on it, and Trump was counting on them to do this. And then what happened was, since everything else failed, all the impeachment hoaxes, the Russia collusion, the Alpha Bank hoax, and everything else like that, they all decided to get together, and they said, you know something? The only way we can get rid of him is we're going to have to overthrow the United States government. We're going to have to overthrow the duly elected president. And that's exactly what they did. They overthrew the government, and they put in the bumbling idiot. Now, Trump, I do believe at that point in time, when he realized what they were going to do, and we knew this ahead of time because we saw it in the posts, we knew they were going to use the ballots. We knew that the computer systems would change votes. We knew that they were going to use the illegals. We knew that they were going to use the Social Security numbers. We knew that the mail-ins were going to be the key to all of this. And again, you just can't do it by sending in mail-ins. You also have to have people on the back end. You have to have people that are going to take these mail-in ballots and the official ballots dispose of the official ballots, bring in the other ballots that you need. And when I say official ballots, I mean official ballots for Trump. And you needed people to do this. So, yeah, you're going to have Secretary of State. You're going to have the post office people. You're going to have mules, illegals doing this. You're going to have a lot of people. And this is going to be a coordinated effort to overthrow the United States government. And that's exactly what they did. So Obama framed Trump in the beginning, and then Obama orchestrated an overthrow of the United States government. Then, once they overthrew the United States government, what did they do? They put in a puppet government. Biden was the puppet. Trump allowed this to happen because, once again, when the military saw them cheating in the election and they saw that they overthrew the United States government, continuity of government was then established. Not fully, but everything was prepared and ready for this. When they completed the overthrow with the insurrection, that's when Trump took complete and utter control, and he was the commander-in-chief. And they had the insurrection against a sitting president. There was only one sitting president at the time. That was Trump. Biden, he wasn't certified. So the insurrection was against Trump. That's why Trump put out the message, and this is why they hid the message, where he said, everyone go home peacefully and patriotically. He's talking to those people that were actually doing the insurrection. He wasn't talking to the MAGA patriots. And once they rejected this, well, that was the insurrection right there. And Trump had full control from that point on. And from that point on, he needed the people to see how they were going to destroy this country. He needed the people to see the 16-year plan. He needed the people to see, look, everything I told you about what they were going to do is true. But again, me telling you is not going to make you believe. So what I got to do here is I got to actually show you. And yes, it's going to look scary. People are going to get pissed off. People are going to get angry. People are going to say enough is enough. And that's exactly what happened. And what happened was he had twice as many people on his side for the 2024 election. This time around, they didn't have the virus. They didn't have anything. They tried, but they couldn't get anything off the ground. And they thought, well, maybe we can use our system. Maybe we can use the fake polls. If we get rid of the bumbling idiot and we put in Kamala, maybe we can prop her up enough to make people believe that there was enough people behind her in votes that we can make up the difference. And when they started to realize, well, this is going to be completely, utterly impossible because her poll numbers are so low, it won't even make sense. So they had to back off that plan. And what Trump did was he made sure that we were able to override the system because there was a point where they could make up the difference. And Trump won by overriding their algorithm and their cheating mechanisms and everything like that. And once Trump got back into his presidency, he's at the point now where he's showing everyone the deep state system, how it operates, how it functions, how they launder the money, how they use the different agencies, the NGOs, the shell companies, how they used all of this to run the entire country the way they want it to run. Remember, they're the ones who are running the country. This enemy is very, very big and it's entrenched. But he needed to show the people, and this is why he brought in Elon to create Doge. And this way they can bring in the autists to actually expose what they have been doing. Remember, the watchdogs never did this because they were part of the system. Trump had to bring in an outsider to convince everyone, look what they've been doing. They've been sending money to all these ridiculous programs. Now, that's just the beginning because you have to remember, he needs people to digest this. So if you just come off and say money laundering, people say, I don't know if I really believe that. But if you say waste and fraud and you start naming the programs, people go, holy crap, why are we paying for this? How much money do we send to Pakistan for LGBTQ training? Why are we spending $3 billion? It doesn't make any sense. So yes, people could wrap their brain around that. And then you bring out the next part saying, well, only a portion of that goes there. The rest of the money goes through these NGOs. And then people go, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean? Only a portion of the money goes there. Or some of the money never makes it to any of the causes, like USAID, where they would take money, they would send it someplace, but that money never actually gets there. See, people can understand that. And you build this up over time. And as people are getting used to what the system really is and how Trump is now shutting it down, you just wait for the other part of the deep state system to actually try to stop him. That's the judiciary. Remember, in the very beginning, we had those individuals in the House and the Senate try to stop him. Now that we have the majority, that's a little bit more difficult. So now they had to turn to the judiciary to try to stop Trump. And this is what Trump is now exposing. He's exposing the judiciary. Remember, everything the deep state players are doing, they're actually violating the Constitution every step of the way. And as this is happening, and people are awake and people are thinking right now, he's actually producing the evidence, number one, of the Russia collusion on how Obama, Brennan, and the rest have done this, how they actually framed Trump. He's also at the same time bringing out the information that China was involved in fake IDs. China was involved in creating fake mail-in ballots. And this brings in the foreign country aspect of it, where the foreign country was cheating in the election, because people, they can wrap their brain around that. Oh, yeah, I get it. A foreign country was trying to manipulate our elections. Now, think about it. He has Obama, Hillary Clinton, Brennan, and the rest, Clapper, you name it, all those people. He's bringing that side of it in there to show that, look, they were trying to have a coup in 2016 to 2020. And since the coup didn't work, they actually overthrew the United States government. And that's the part that Cash and Grassley are bringing in right now. Same players, same people doing the same exact thing, but they went to the nth degree to actually overthrow the United States government and the duly elected president of the United States. So this is treason at the highest level. It wasn't like they just did one thing. They've done many treasonous things. Then add on top of this, the uranium that they were selling to Russia, the uranium that was passed on to Iran, to North Korea, the missile technology that they stole from Elon because they were paying him subsidies, and they actually allowed other countries to get that technology off of Hillary Clinton's server to create cheap rockets to carry the warheads that they created from the uranium that they sold to Russia. This is what Trump is exposing right now. And when it's all said and done, the D Party is going to cease to exist the way we know it today. Actually, Trump is in the process right now of basically exposing the entire D Party and then bringing the hammer down on it, destroying it. And what's very interesting is that we know that Elon and Trump are having a feud right now. But if you go back a little bit in time, remember when Elon came in with multiple hats and Trump said, oh, look, he's the only guy that can wear multiple hats. He can wear a white hat. He could wear a black hat. Because I do believe Elon right now is working with Trump, just like DeSantis was working with Trump. Actually, at Alligator Alcatraz, they asked Trump, what's your relationship with DeSantis right now? Trump said, it's a 10. And he goes, oh, maybe it's a 9.999. He goes, we get along very, very well. Interesting, isn't it? What makes for a good movie? Good actors. And I do believe in the end, we're going to see something that we've never seen before. I do believe we might see the D Party disappear. We might see a new party come into play. Isn't that interesting? Elon wants to create a new party. We'll be talking about all of this a little bit later. But first, let's talk about socialism, communism, fascism, capitalism. Because what's very interesting, a lot of people have a very difficult time understanding the difference between all of these. And Juanita Broderick found something from Ann Landers going way, way back to 2002. And this explains it really, really well. And I think people can use this when they're talking to friends, relatives, and other people. And this is what it says. Dear Anne, I'm an English teacher and my students are reading George Orwell's 1984. I'm having a difficult time explaining communism, socialism, and fascism without giving a time-consuming history lesson. I recall you printed a humorous explanation these concepts using cows. Will you please print it again? I'm sure it will kickstart a lively class discussion. A teacher in Mississippi. So this is what she wrote. Socialism. You have two cows. Give one cow to your neighbor. Communism. You have two cows. Give both cows to the government, and they may give you some milk. Fascism. You have two cows. You give all of the milk to the government, and the government sells it. Nazism. You have two cows. The government shoots you and takes both cows. Capitalism. You have two cows. You sell one, and you buy a bull. And I think those are very, very easy explanations. And I think anyone that you tell that to, they'll get it right off the bat. Just like people are now getting that the judiciary, they're part of the tyrannical system, and they are now basically continuing the insurrection that started in January 6th of 2020. Remember, the insurrection has never ended, and they're just continuing. Everything the deep state player, everything they do right now, it's a continuation of their insurrection. It never ended. That's what you saw with all the illegals coming in. Now you have the people trying to stop the deportation of the illegals. It's the same insurrection. And remember, the Marxist judge, the communist judge, the tyrannical judge, Moss, he went against the Supreme Court once again. Now, of course, he knows what he's doing. This is what they do. And what's very interesting is that Judge Moss' opinion does not concern the buffet of very good reasons to amend America's broken immigration system. He instead takes issue with the government's claim authority in fixing that system. Moss concludes that the segment of the U.S. Code cited in Trump's proclamation do not provide the president with the unilateral authority to limit the rights of aliens present in the United States to apply for asylum. Moss further quarrels with the constitutionality of the proclamation. Article 2 of the Constitution vests executive power in the President of the United States. Article 4 guarantees each state protection against invasion. Those clauses cannot be read to grant the President or his delegates authority to adopt an alternative immigration system, which supplants the statutes that Congress has enacted and the regulations that the responsible agencies have promulgated, he says. The brevity, clarity, and foresight of the founders are never more apparent than when read alongside modern legal opinions. Moss's opinion would see an entire class of legal aliens granted protection from Trump's proclamation. Voiding Trump's proclamation would fold nearly the entire world's population into a protected class of asylum seekers. Molly Hemingway says, Justice Alito proven right within days. So Justice Samuel Alito warned of such abuses in his concurrence in Trump vs. Casa Inc. The court's ruling against universal injunctions will have very little value if district courts award relief to broadly defined classes without following Rules 23's procedural protections for class certification. Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 23 permits members of the class to sue or be sued as representatives of their class, provided certain conditions are met. The rule may permit the certification of nationwide classes in some discrete scenarios, but district courts should not view today's decision as an invitation to certified nationwide classes without scrupulous adherence to rigors of Rule 23. This is what Alito said. Otherwise, the universal injunction will return from the grave under the guise of nationwide class relief, and today's decision will be of little more than minor academic interest. Moss might have waited more than a week to prove Alito right. And it looks like he definitely has done this. Now, I do believe what Trump is doing right now is he's allowing all these tyrannical judges to push lawfare so Trump can bring this up to the Supreme Court. And if you notice, what Trump is doing, he's shutting them down every step of the way. Every time they bring something else up, he brings it up to the Supreme Court and they shut it down. They shut it down. They shut it down. Eventually, what's going to happen, if they ever try this again, all of this is shut down, which means it's going to be very, very difficult for them to try anything like this ever again. So basically what Trump is doing right now, he's thinking about the future. He's looking ahead and saying, okay, listen, I really need to set these precedents, and I need the rulings from the Supreme Court. So I need to allow them to do all these things. So this way we can appeal it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court can rule. And this way they can never bring it up again. And this way if they try to bring it up again, we don't have to listen because we have the Supreme Court ruling right here. So every step of the way, this is what he's doing. So this way, in the future, if the deep state tries to do anything like this, he's setting all these precedents. So this way, they can never, ever do this again. But you can see the deep state players, they are definitely panicking right now because, again, the big, beautiful bill, they know what it's all about. They know that everything that they put into place is going to completely and utterly disappear, which means they're going to start to lose big time. Representative Ian Omar put this out and said, this abomination of a bill gives $150 billion for immigration enforcement. And they're paying for it by cutting Medicaid and SNAP. They want to take food off your table and health care from your family to fund a police state. Unconscionable. No, they're taking the money away from Medicaid because there's millions of illegals on Medicaid that shouldn't be on Medicaid. So those people are going to be removed. That money-saving act is then going to go to paying for the removal of those people. Stephen Miller responded to her and said, the communists know that if this bill passes, the invasion is reversed. Absolutely. Mike Davis says, what Biden did was not immigration. He orchestrated a foreign invasion. The Supreme Court sat on its hands. Trump got elected to repel this invasion. This is the highest constitutional duty as the commander-in-chief. The federal judiciary must get the hell out of his way. The judicial insurrection against the Trump mandate. And that's exactly what it is. It's a continuation of the insurrection that they had on January 6th. It never, ever ended. When they brought in the illegals, that was part of their insurrection. When they were destroying the economy, going to the Green New scam, that was part of their insurrection. When they started wars in the Middle East, out in Ukraine, that was part of their insurrection. When they went after Trump with everything that they had, that was part of their insurrection. Everything that you're seeing is part of the deep state insurrection. And now Trump is fighting the insurrection, their insurgency, with the military and we the people and the rule of law. This is what he planned from the very, very beginning. And you could see when he was down in Florida, he's not waiting for judges. He's not waiting for these individuals who are against him to rule on certain cases. He's now going to deputize 9 National Guardsmen as immigration judges to increase deportation. And I do believe we're going to see a lot of other red states start to do this across the country because, again, this is how you bypass the deep state system. And you actually put together very quick trials. You're here illegally? Well, you got to leave. You're here illegally? Well, you got to leave. There's your due process. Everyone wanted due process. This is how it's going to work very, very quickly. And I don't even know if we really need this, but in certain cases, we might. And this is why they're putting this in place. But you can see everything that Trump has done. He didn't need Congress. He didn't need new bills. He didn't need new laws. He didn't need everything that Biden was talking about. Because, again, they use that as an excuse because they never wanted to shut down the borders. They actually wanted more money. They wanted to do other things with the bill because the bill was never really shutting down the border. So Trump, he just reversed everything that Biden did because Biden reversed everything that he did. And now the border is shut down and it's secure. Trump, he put this out and said, congratulations, America. The June border statistics are in, and once again, they are the lowest recorded numbers in United States history. The U.S. Border Patrol reported 0 releases of illegal aliens into the country. In addition, Customs and Border Protection only had 25,243 nationwide encounters throughout the entire month, which is absolutely staggering, considering the Biden administration was encountering tens of thousands of people every single day. America's borders are safe and secure, and the entire world knows it. All we need to do is to keep it this way, which is exactly why Republicans need to pass the one big, beautiful bill, which they already did. We still have radical left judges trying to open up the border and defy the Supreme Court, which is why Republicans must be smart, strong, and never let these crazed judges turn us into a third world country. The men and women of the Border Patrol, ICE, CBP are doing an amazing job, but they need more help, and they're counting on Republicans to get it done. Absolutely. And you can see he's getting all the people together to fight these tyrannical judges. And I do believe in the end, once we take complete and utter control of the House and Senate, and I don't mean the majority, The majority, you could have rhinos, you could have those people that really aren't on your side. You need control of the House, control of the Senate. So this way, when a bill is brought up, you don't have to say, oh, crap, look, 10 rhinos now are against it. And you have to sit there and fight them every step of the way. This is the control that Trump wants in the end. And I do believe with everything that we're going to see up until the midterms, I do believe he's going to get what he wants. They'll try to cheat, but you have to remember every step of the way, what is Trump doing? He's shutting down their cheating system. He's empowering the people. More people are on his side. So it's going to be so big. Now, I don't know if you know this. While the financial establishment and their deep state allies have been secretly building wealth through cryptocurrency, patriotic Americans have been deliberately kept in the dark. Today, I want to tell you about BlackTrustIRA.com. They're bringing crypto wealth to the hardworking Americans using advanced AI technology that helps you bypass the system that President Trump has been fighting against. I partner with Black Trust IRA because their mission aligns perfectly with what Trump talks about, breaking down the barriers that shadowy financial elites have built to keep regular Americans from achieving true financial freedom. Their Animus AI trading platform works 24/7, analyzing market data and executing advanced crypto strategies that are beyond simply buy and hold, giving you sophisticated trading techniques the establishment has kept hidden while telling Americans to just hold and hope with their retirement. There's a reason their system was named the #1 crypto technology platform by Bitcoin Magazine from over 1,500 global competitors. Whether you're a teacher, truck driver, small business owner, or retiree watching deep state inflation policies eat away at your 401k, Block Trust IRA's advanced Animus AI gives Trump supporters the same advantages as the financial insiders. Right now, Black Trust IRA is delivering over 250% return on investments through exclusive access to Animus AI technology. And with military-grade security, investments are protected by up to $200 million in insurance against establishment manipulation. Don't wait. Visit x22crypto.com and find out how they can help you join the financial revolution that Trump started that's finally giving regular patriots a way around the rig system. For a limited time, they're offering my viewers up to $2,500 in bonus crypto when you open an account. Crypto created 80,000 new millionaires last year despite the deep state's attempts to control all the wealth. Why not you? Visit x22crypto.com. That's x22crypto.com, or click the link in the description, where people are going to say, you know something, we want this candidate that Trump endorsed. The numbers are going to be so big that no matter what they try to do with their cheating system, it just won't work, because as Trump limits their rig system and only allows them to do certain little things, they don't have the ability to cheat on a grand scale to counter the number of people that are voting for these candidates. And this is what Trump is counting on. And it looks like he is on his way. But when you look out in Germany, you can see out in Germany and also France and UK and many other places, they're really having a problem with the third world migrant men, because they're there raping them, groping them, you name it. And what's very interesting is that Germany, they put out a notice because at the swimming pools, these third world migrant men, they were going after underage girls. So they decided to switch it up and make it seem like women are groping third world migrant men and third world migrant men that basically have handicaps. Charlie Kirk put this out and said, Germany has a problem with third world migrant men groping German women. So the German government has put up a PSA warning about white women groping vulnerable immigrant men who also have prosthetic legs for some reason. Europe is controlled by elites who hate their own people. Is anyone really going to believe this? Do you really think the German white women are going around groping third world immigrant men with prosthetics? I mean, this is what they're really saying? No, what they're going to do is that when the third world immigrant male goes after the woman, they're going to say, hey, by the way, they were groping me. That's what this is for. Is it going to work? I don't think the people are going to believe it. And yesterday we saw that Diddy, he didn't get charged with any of the sex trafficking. Remember, we had James Comey's daughter working with this case, probably directing certain individuals. But remember, this is just the beginning. The narrative is being built. People have to digest it. I do believe this is going to be a lot bigger than people could ever imagine. And what's very interesting is that Kimberly Auer put this out and said, look at post 3125. It says the pill must be easy to swallow. The lead-in. News Treason Channel 17 said, nailed it. This is the lead-in to everything. Because think about it. It leads us into what? It leads us into Epstein. It leads us into child trafficking, human trafficking. It leads us into pedophilia. It leads us into all of this. And I do believe this is what people are going to digest, people are going to see, and say, okay, yeah, maybe it does exist, maybe it doesn't exist. This is kind of strange. He was dealing in prostitution. And then wait until other information comes out, and then people go, wait a minute, maybe the trafficking thing is real. Maybe the pedophile thing is real. And when you start bringing in information with Epstein and other places, well, it starts to make a lot of sense. And you can see the deep state players, they're being shut down all over the place. Their funding is being shut down all over the place. Department of Government Efficiency says contracts update. Over the last 4 days, agencies terminated 256 wasteful contracts with a ceiling value of $14.3 billion and savings of $11.5 billion, including an $850,000 USAID professional services contract for a resilience advisor in Somalia and a $198,000 GSA consultant contract for business process analysis and business improvement. So again, these are just made-up programs. A very small percentage goes to these programs. The rest is laundered elsewhere to fund the agenda of the deep state players. And remember, the entire system is completely and utterly corrupt. It's a criminal organization. You can compare it to the mafia. And when you look at the agencies, when you look at the people, when you look at all the fraud that's going on, this is their money laundering system. Libs of TikTok put this out and said, former FBI employee Jeffrey Spencer and sister Christy Everclean pled guilty to bid rigging scheme to defraud the U.S. They allegedly rigged FBI contracts by faking bids with her companies, using fake names and a random generator to obtain $350,000 in government contracts. The amount of fraud with these government contracts is insane. We need many more arrests. Find the fraud and hold them all accountable. And if you notice, the fraud is throughout the entire system because it was designed this way to move money to certain individuals. And all these people, they are criminals. They don't bring in people that have a moral compass. They bring in people that will do what they want. They bring in people with no moral compass. They bring in criminals, just like they bring in the illegal criminals, because again, they're not going to add to the country. They're not going to go out and find a job, work hard, build a family. No, they don't have a moral compass. They're criminals. And if they're told to murder, if they're told to loot, if they're told to burn down a city, they will follow the instructions of the deep state and Antifa. And we've already seen this. Now, the other thing that we could see right now is that Europe right now, they're moving forward with their code of conduct on disinformation. And they're getting prepared to basically censor anyone that is putting out disinformation or misinformation. And who decides what's disinformation and misinformation? Of course, the EU, the government. They decide, just like in this country, when people were talking about hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin or Hunter Biden's laptop is actually Hunter Biden's laptop, the government decided, no, we consider that disinformation because, again, we don't want the truth out there. Mike Benz responded to all this and said, the day I've warned of for 6 years and screamed about the past 6 months is finally here. The EU's voluntary code of conduct on disinformation just became mandatory. U.S. social media platforms will now get whipped by huge EU fines if they don't throttle what the EU calls disinfo. This is the day American censors in exile have been waiting for. Ever since Elon bought X and Zuck began to follow suit with free speech reforms, I really don't think Zuck was following through on free speech reforms, but we'll go with that. This global censorship law run by the EU is, and has been for years, their secret weapon in waiting. It's now fully unleashed. The only way to stop it is for Trump, White House to act urgently, top priority to apply massive diplomatic trade, aid, and security muscle, every tool in the hardball diplomacy toolkit, up to and including our participation in NATO to knock this law the F out. And yes, They are going to use this, and you know what this is going to do? This is going to cause a blackout of information. Isn't that interesting? And they're going to find all these social media platforms up the wazoo. So that means X. I don't know if Truth Social has enough people on there to merit this, but maybe they'll lower the parameters and allow Truth Social. Same thing with Rumble. But I do believe they'll probably do that, which they'll include all these other platforms, and they will start censoring and fining everyone. And we might see a blackout of information. But I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they knew exactly that this was coming. I think we all knew this was coming. And I do believe there are countermeasures in place. And again, Trump can use the trade deals, the tariffs, and everything else to combat this. But let's see how this all plays out. The other thing that's very interesting is that we know that Rubio and Trump, they made a deal with Rwanda and Congo. They made a peace deal between the two. And what's very interesting about this peace deal, there are rare earth minerals in the Congo, and there is great refining capabilities in Rwanda. So think about the peace deal that Trump just made. Think about the rare earth mineral deal that he made with Ukraine. Think about the rare earth mineral deal that he's now making with the Congo and Rwanda. He's actually countering China right here. And he's making sure that we get the rare earth minerals that we need. Because remember, we're not really doing the mining in our country, the U.S. Right now, we're depending on these other countries until we can get the rare earth mineral mining up and running in this country. So it looks like he is now pushing China out, and he's taking control, which is very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that we could see that is very, very interesting, that there are executions in Iran, and they have surged at an alarming rate in June alone. 140 were reported, 9 prisoners executed on charges of espionage for Israel. And a lot of the charges seem fabricated. And a former student leader involved in the 1979 U.S. Embassy takeover, an ex-deputy head of Iran-based Presidential Strategic Research Center, wrote the following. On the surface, administrative, production, and service sectors seem to have returned to normal after the war. But one thing has fundamentally changed, our perception of the future. That perception is now defined by uncertainty and fear. Growing anxiety within the regime's inner circle reflects a deep concern that collapse is not only possible but imminent. Many regime officials, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps commanders, and business elites have already secured escape plans abroad, particularly in Canada and Latin America, and arranged foreign citizenship for their children, the so-called children of the elite, as a safeguard should the regime fall. After a full week of silence following the 12-day war between Israel and the Islamic Republic, the regime's supreme leader, Khamenei, finally appeared on state television on Thursday, June 26, via a pre-recorded video from an undisclosed location. With a trembling and hoarse voice, he claimed that Iran had triumphed over Israel and the U.S., forcing its enemies to their knees. But this message wasn't aimed at foreign adversaries. Its real audience was the anxious, demoralized loyalists within the regime, those who cling to power through nepotism, privilege, and amassed wealth in a nation stricken by poverty. His aim was to reassure them at a time when even seminary students and religious circles are no longer inspired by his long-standing slogan, "No war, no negotiations." What the regime fears most now, especially Khamenei, is the outbreak of a widespread popular uprising, reminiscent of the protests violently crushed in 2022. The underlying causes of public outrage remain unresolved, and conditions have only worsened. Resistance units have begun targeting government offices and security centers across the country on an almost daily basis. So basically, the people are fighting back. And we could see that the players within Iran, they're trying to hold on to power, but the elite, they realize that they're losing power very, very quickly, and they're making other plans to get out of the country. Very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that we could see is that an Iran-linked hacker They have threatened to disclose more emails stolen from U.S. President Donald Trump's circle. So this is very, very interesting. But Homeland Security responded to these hackers and said the following: a hostile foreign adversary is threatening to illegally exploit purportedly stolen and unverified material in an effort to distract, discredit, and divide. This so-called cyber attack is nothing more than the digital propaganda, and the targets are no coincidence. This is a calculated smear campaign meant to damage Trump and discredit honorable public servants who serve our country with distinction. These criminals will be found and they will be brought to justice. Let this be a warning to others. There'll be no refuge, tolerance, or leniency for these actions. So who do you think is really running the Iran-backed hacker group? You think it's the deep state players? Absolutely. And they have been warned. I do believe the Patriots, they already know who they are, and they will find them and bring them to justice. Now, the other thing that we could see is that RFK Jr., he is really going after Big Pharma, and he is about to change everything. And we also see that the FDA is now going to formally update the safety labeling on all mRNA COVID-19 vaccines to reflect what many Americans have been warning about for years: a high risk of myocarditis, particularly in young men, and the possibility of long-term irreversible heart damage. I do believe instead of putting these warnings on Pfizer's and Moderna's vaccines, I think at this point in time, they should just be taken off the market because, again, they don't protect you from COVID. They don't stop transmission because really that's what they were for. They don't do any of these things. All they do is create illnesses, heart problems, and death. I think they should be taken off the market at this point. Now, they might be building up to this because now, of course, if you just take them off the market, the people would complain. Those people that have taken it and those people that are still probably taking it, you would hear an outcry over this. But if you start bringing in warnings and you say, okay, these things are not good, these are deadly, this is what they can do to you, I think over time people are going to say, you know something? It looks like the risks outweigh the benefit. And I think that's always been the case. And I think eventually what's going to happen, all of this is going to be pulled off the shelves. Now, the other thing that we could see is that, remember all the Ds, they painted up all the roads, LGBTQ colors and things like that. Well, it looks like Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has a message for all of them. And Libs of TikTok put this out, and this is what it says. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy sent a letter to all 50 governors demanding the state remove any political paintings on the roads, including rainbow crosswalks. Roads are for safety, not political messages or artwork. And I do believe that is absolutely true, because if you could put that political message on there, you'd be able to put any political message on there, and the roads would just be filled with graffiti. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's confusing when you're driving down the road. And also, we don't want that on the road anyhow. It makes no sense. This was all done for politics, just like when they painted BLM on the roads. It all has to be removed now, and no other flag should be flying at any government office or embassy except the American flag. Now, we could see that the deep state players, they've been panicking about the big, beautiful bill. And Hakeem Jeffries, he went ahead and he just spoke for 8 hours and 4 minutes or whatever it is. He broke a record. Who really cares? And he did this to delay the vote because they know that once this is passed, and it already passed, it's game over for all of them. They know that they're in trouble. But as he was giving the speech, and this is the filibuster, J.D. Vance said the following: GOP congressman just texted me. I was undecided on the bill, but when I watched Hakeem Jeffries' performance, I'm now a firm yes. So right there, that tells you everything you need to know. And remember when the D's and Hakeem Jeffries said that we need to get rid of the filibuster? Remember when he put this out in December 23rd, 2021? The filibuster is a Jim Crow era relic that has been used to stop progress for decades. Enough. So wait a minute. Did he just use a Jim Crow era relic? I guess it's okay when they want to use it, but when the Republicans want to use it, it's a Jim Crow era relic. I mean, I mean, think about what he just did here. He's a hypocrite. That's exactly what he is, and that tells you everything you need to know. But you can see Barack Obama, he is now panicking over this big, beautiful bill. And before it was passed, this is what he put out. More than 16 million Americans are at risk of losing their health care because Republicans in Congress are rushing to pass a bill that would cut federal funding for Medicaid and weaken the Affordable Care Act. Wait a minute. Isn't this what they did with the Affordable Care Act? Nobody read it. They rushed it through. They actually bribed and blackmailed Judge Roberts because he said this is completely unconstitutional because you're putting a penalty on the people. You're forcing them to take something that the government wants them to take. And this is completely unconstitutional. And all of a sudden, Roberts flip-flopped, said, okay, it's constitutional, left the country, and the Affordable Care Act, nobody was allowed to read it, and it was passed. And you know what happened? Premiums skyrocketed. 50% of his exchanges went bankrupt. And finally, Trump removed the penalty on the people. And you know what happened? People lost their health insurance. So yeah, he's the one who caused all this. Let me continue with what he said. If the House passes this bill, it will increase costs and hurt working class families for generations to come. Oh, like the Affordable Care Act. Call your representative today and tell them to vote no on this bill. Translation of what he just said. If you vote for this, millions of illegals will be pushed off Medicaid. Millions of illegals will be deported from this country. We won't be able to use the illegals to launder our money, cheat in the elections, and create havoc around the country. I'm losing my army. That's what he's really saying right there. And it's very interesting that he is out there publicly because everyone now can see that Obama set up Trump. Catherine Herridge put this out and said, report via CIA Director Ratcliffe concludes that in 2016, then CIA Director Brennan and others rushed the Russia election interference intelligence assessment. Brennan dismissed high-level warnings that the Clinton campaign opposition research, the Steele dossier, did not meet intel collection standards and risked credibility. Handling of dossier was highly irregular, plus limited analytic rigor. Media leaked reinforced narrative with high confidence that Russia intervened to help candidate Trump. Page 4, two senior leaders of the CIA Mission Center responsible for Russia strongly opposed including the dossier, asserting that it did not meet even the most basic tradecraft standards. Note, basic tradecraft standards means established collection methods, techniques, and operations. Page 5, Brennan showed a preference for narrative consistency over analytical soundness. Brennan ultimately formalized his position in writing, stating that my bottom line is that I believe that the information warrants inclusion in the report. The intelligence community, CIA, FBI, DNI, etc., intentionally fabricated intelligence information to create an entirely fictitious storyline. Rasmussen report says an enormous scandal, dwarfing Watergate and the Pentagon Papers. Oh, this is much, much bigger than Watergate. Remember going back in time when Trump put this out on March 4th, 2017? Terrible. Just found out that Obama had my wires tapped in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism. So that's very, very interesting. But I think Lee Smith pretty much sums it up. He says, useful detail but misses crucial facts I've reported in 3 books. Obama ordered ICA and knew by August 2016 only intel tying Trump to Russia was dossier. That's the scandal, not bad tradecraft or stovepiping intel. Obama framed Trump. That's exactly what he did. General Flynn said the following: enough is enough. John Brennan needs to be put under investigation immediately. The newly declassified CIA tradecraft review of the 2016 Intelligence Community Assessment proves without a shadow of a doubt that the entire operation was rigged, partisan hack job. It wasn't intelligence. It was propaganda meant to undermine the incoming POTUS. And who orchestrated this disgrace? John Brennan, a man who wore the title of CIA director but acted like a political assassin in service to the Obama-Clinton machine. He didn't just fail in his duties, he betrayed it. He weaponized the CIA to push a lie, boxed out the rest of the intelligence community, and engineered a fraudulent narrative that tore our nation apart. He knew the intel was a lie, yet he led a small hand-picked cabal to hide the truth and manufacture a story that served their agenda. And here's the kicker. Some of the intelligence actually suggested that Russia may have preferred Hillary Clinton. Let that sink in. Everything they accused Trump, myself, and others doing, they were doing behind the scenes. That's what Marxists do. And while they push their fiction, real Americans paid the price. I expose all of it in my new book, Pardon of Innocence. So this is exactly what they've been doing. Plus, Kash Patel also has government gangsters. He explains it in detail on how they did this. So why didn't Trump go after these individuals at that time? Because the people, they wouldn't understand it. They wouldn't believe it. He didn't have the people at the time. Plus, if we're going to bring all these people to justice, we need to make sure that they keep doing the same thing over and over and over. They started out with a coup. Then they went into overthrowing the United States government, which was the insurrection, and they continue the insurrection to today. This is treason at the highest level. Peter Bernegger says, there is no statute of limitations for conspiring to fraud the U.S. government. If the perps take any steps at all to cover it up, for example, also criminal RICO statutes of limitations has no limit either. If actions are taken to keep it ongoing, this includes cheating in the election since 2020 and taking steps to cover it up. This is why Trump allowed them to continually do this. It removes the statute of limitations. And they took steps to cover it all up. Think about what they did. This reminds me of post 4044, May 2nd, 2020. There's a poster. It has Brennan, Clapper, McCabe, Comey, and Obama dead center. It says Spygate. Never has a president left office to collude with others to impede the next sitting president of the United States of America until Obama. And it's pointing to a link, which is Trump's link on X, and it says the following. The Russia hoax is the biggest political scandal in American history. Treason. Let's see how this ends. He put this out on May 2nd, 2020. Think about that. He knew all along. He caught them all. He just needs the people to see it, and he needs the deep state players to keep going. They're continuing their insurrection. And that should tell you everything you need to know. And in the end, the people are going to know that these people, they were the ones who caused all of this. And they were treasonous to this country. The people will be with Trump. The people are going to demand accountability. And we could see that today, the big, beautiful bill passed. There were two individuals that decided to vote no on the bill. And one of them was Thomas Massey, and the other one was Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania. So these two individuals, they voted no, which is very, very interesting. And you know what Trump's going to do. He's going to endorse someone to go up against them. And that will be that. So since the big, beautiful bill just passed, Clandestine put this out and said, anyone else find it ironic that most libertarians have been so consumed by TDS that they are actively lobbying against tax cuts and in favor of tax hikes? Without the one big, beautiful bill or another extension of the TCJA by January, rates will revert to pre-2017 levels, and the average taxpayer could face up to 22% tax hike. The reason Trump wants to add everything into one big bill is because we don't have 60 votes in the Senate to pass legislation, hence why Trump is packing these tax cuts into the budget reconciliation bill, which only requires 50-plus votes plus the VP. I know everyone wants a single-issue bills, but if we do that without a supermajority, nothing will ever get passed through Congress. We will be stalemated. The MAGA agenda will be stalled, and we'll keep way less of our income. The libertarians are embarrassing themselves more than usual. They are missing the forest for the trees. And yes, Trump, he knew that there was no way at this point in time to get single bills passed. Because remember, we might have the majority, but we don't have the control. We need to get the control during the midterms. And I do believe we will get the control. But again, think about what Trump has put into place. He's going to show the people of this country that everything that he's doing is the right thing for this country. And when people see more jobs, when people see less inflation, when the taxes are removed, when fuel prices go down, do you think the people are going to want to return to what we just had? No, they're not. Plus, when evidence comes out that there are certain individuals, they're getting kickbacks, that these individuals also orchestrated a coup, overthrew the United States government, had an insurrection, and they continued the insurrection at present, who do you think the people are going to vote for? All these people are going to be removed. And I do believe Elon has been helping Trump, just like DeSantis was helping Trump. Remember when Elon came into the Oval Office and he was wearing two hats? And Trump said, well, Elon is the only one that can pull this off wearing two hats. Take a listen to the exchange.
The double hat president. Yeah. He's the only one that can do that. Get away with it.
Well, Mr. President, they say I wear a lot of hats. It's true. Even my hat has a hat.
So MJ Truth Ultra put this out and said, Trump, Elon, I love the double hat, by the way. He's the only one who can do that and get away with it. Elon, they say I wear a lot of hats. Even my hat has a hat. White hat, black hat, whatever hat Trump needs him to be. And I do believe this is why we're seeing what we're seeing today with the feud. Because he needed Elon away. He needed to, and Trump needed to reestablish to everyone that he is the president. He needed Elon to go up against the deep state players. And I do believe that's exactly what he's doing, getting people on his side, maybe for a new party, which we'll be discussing in just a sec. But remember when DeSantis was running against Trump? And it's funny, go back to the videos of DeSantis back then when he was talking about Trump. He sounded like a bumbling idiot. But when he debated Newsom, he didn't sound like a bumbling idiot. And now, since he's out of the race, he's no longer a bumbling idiot. But guess what happened during that period of time? All the money was sent to his way. And by the time everything was all said and done, the deep state players, the rhinos, couldn't send it anywhere else. And now, DeSantis and Trump, they're buddy-buddy. Take a listen.
Describe the relationship and what future does Governor DeSantis have?
I think it's a 10. Maybe 9-9, because there might be a couple of little wounds. So maybe it's 9-9. I think we have a 10. We get along great.
So I do believe what we're seeing right now is a show. And think about this. Colin Rugg put this out. A poll finds that 40% of voters say they are likely to support Elon Musk's American Party if he decides to launch it, according to Qantas Insights. The poll comes as Musk has threatened to launch his own political party over recent disagreements with the Republican Party. Time for a new political party that actually cares about the people. This is what he said on X. So that's very interesting. News Treason Channel 17 put this out and said the following. Elon's kayfabe has yielded what might be one of the most important posts on Weeks, the American Party. He has the power and the money to do it. What did Q tell us in Drop 2635? The D Party will cease to exist once it's all exposed. Fake news can no longer control, dampen public awareness of the truth, dark to light. So that's very, very interesting. Now, are we really worried about the MAGA people going over to this new party? No, the MAGA people are not going to go over to the new party. What will happen is when the information comes out against the D Party and the people who belong to the D Party, they're going to be looking at this going, holy crap, the D Party is completely and utterly corrupt. They're treasonous to this country. And I wouldn't be surprised if people make the shift over to the new party if Elon actually creates it. But we'll have to see how this all plays out because this is going to be very, very interesting. But I do believe Elon right now is playing a dual role. And I do believe in the end, the D Party will cease to exist the way we know it today. And I do believe that the Ds, the deep state players, the central bank, they're all in trouble. And I do believe the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.